Hello friends, welcome to Top Scholars, the Smart Learning App. So the chapter at hand is our environment. In this session, we will try to solve some questions coming from this chapter and we will also try to revise the chapter using these questions. In this chapter, you are dealing with different kinds of words like producers, what are consumers, then we talk about different trophic levels, okay, then how energy is lost, what is biological accumulation. All of these things are covered in this chapter. Then we also deal with how we can manage the garbage or the pollutants that we actually are producing. Alright. So let us begin with our session and try to solve some questions and revise this chapter as well. Here is the question coming for 1 mark. The question is an MCQ, that is understood to you. Multiple choice are given to you. You need to choose which one is the appropriate answer for this question. Let us have a read for the question. It says, which of the following organisms convert inorganic material into organic forms? Inorganic meaning, yes, your CO2 or H2O, okay, these are the forms which are inorganic, okay. Organic meanings the compounds having the hydrocarbon in their structure, alright. So basically, which of these organisms tend to convert these inorganic material into carbon-containing organic forms? Yes, you might have already guessed the correct answer. Plants are using these inorganic forms. They are taking the CO2 from the environment, they are taking water from the ground, okay, using some minerals, nutrients, and then they are converting these inorganic forms into the organic forms of glucose, of starch, right? So basically, plants, we know that they convert inorganic material into organic forms. Now let us go for the options. This is option A, which says producers. Then we have herbivores, carnivores and decomposers, okay. So obviously friends, we know that plants are producers, okay. Plants actually give us the food. If we don't have plants, we cannot fix these inorganic forms that are present in our environment into the organic forms which is suitable for us to consume, okay. So plants are basically the producers. Not only plants but algae or other autotrophic organisms are also the producers. What are herbivores? Herbivores are those who are depending on producers for their energy requirement, okay. So say for example a deer, okay, or a giraffe is a herbivore. It is eating the plants. What are carnivores? Carnivores are those who are feeding on the herbivores, okay. Say for example tiger, lion, eagle, these are all carnivores because they are eating the herbivores. What do you mean by decomposers? Yes, after the death of the producers, herbivores, carnivores, the dead remains of these big large organisms are being decomposed by a set of organisms called as decomposers, okay. So friends, in your exam paper, you might be having different kinds of questions, but the concept behind this question should be clear to you, okay. If you know what are herbivores, what are producers, what are carnivores and what are decomposers, you will be good to go with any question that is coming up in any way possible, okay. Now if I say which of these organisms actually convert the organic forms into inorganic forms, then you will be choosing the correct answer as decomposers because they are degrading the organic forms present in the organisms into the inorganic material, okay. So coming back to the answer of this question, the correct answer is the producers. Producers like green plants and algae convert the inorganic materials into organic forms by the process of photosynthesis, okay. So because of this photosynthesis only, we are able to have food that is being produced by plants, okay. So if plants vanishes, human beings will also perish, alright, because we cannot use the sunlight directly to gain our energy in our body, okay. We need to have food. That's why whenever you are hungry, you will eat food. You will not go and stand in the sun because you cannot synthesize your own food. The reason? Because we are heterotrophs, we are not autotrophs, alright. Here is the question asked for 1 mark coming from the topic of food chain and food web. The question is simple, what is a food web? So friends, we have food chain in which we will be having producer, okay. Say for example, I have grass. Then I will have some organism which are depending upon that grass. Then some other organism which is eating that first organism, okay. And then we will have some series, okay. And this will constitute a food chain. What is a food web? When we have interconnection of many food chain, that is called as food web. Let us understand over here. The solution part says that a food web is a natural interconnection of various food chains. Okay, very simple. You are just considering various food chains and how they are interconnected. That will give you the food web. So over here, if only I have considered this food chain, okay, this is the grass, this is the rabbit, and this is the fox. Fox is eating the rabbit. So this part is the food chain. This is one more food chain, this is one more food chain, this is also one more food chain. But what we are doing, we have interconnected all of those things, because this grass can be eaten by this mouse as well, okay, can be eaten by this grasshopper as well. So you will see that there is interconnection. This snake can also eat this frog, and this owl can also eat this frog, okay. So basically, one animal is not restricted to eat only in its own food chain, okay. It can eat over here also. This is also a food for this hawk, okay. It can eat rabbit as well, and it can eat this mouse as well. So there is interconnection of food chain, which is called as food web. Hence, if the questions come and ask you what is a food web, for 1 mark you will be saying a food web is the natural interconnection of various food chains, and you are good to go for gaining that simply, easy to gain marks. Alright. Here is the question coming from your biological magnification topic. The question is very simple. What is biological magnification? So here friends, coming to the detail of this topic first. Biological magnification. Magnification, something is getting magnified in the biological system. Okay. Now say for example, a fish is in its environment, that is the river, but that river is polluted with some chemical. Okay. We have the industrial effluent going in that river. So what will happen is, these fishes will accumulate some part of the chemical because it is present in their environment and water is continuously going inside that fish body. Okay. So fishes are now having the accumulation of that chemical. Now say for example, there are 10 small fish. These are being eaten by one large fish. So that one large fish will have the chemicals which was accumulated in those 10 fishes. Okay. So now this one large fish is having higher amount of chemical in its body, okay, as compared to the individual smaller fish. Now say for example, a human being is eating that large fish. Now say for example, human beings are eating 2 of those large fishes. So then obviously the chemical that is being deposited in human beings now is greater than the chemical that was present in that single large fish. Okay. So basically the amount of chemical in each of these organisms is getting magnified. It is getting increased. This process is called as biological magnification. This is what question is asking you. If the question is asked for 1 mark, you will just state it in one sentence. And if this question is asked for 3 marks, then you will state what is biological magnification, and then you will proceed and give one example, okay, in which you will use some chemical. If you know some name, good to go, okay, and then you will try to explain how this biological magnification is happening using the help of your example. Okay, we will do that as well. But over here, just for the sake of 1 mark, we will write one sentence. The phenomenon of the accumulation of non-biodegradable harmful chemicals introduced into the ecosystem progressively at each trophic level is called biological magnification. So, a group of many words, right? Let us divide the sentences and try to understand. Okay, so accumulation, you are familiar, the thing is getting accumulated, it is getting stored. Then the chemical, if it is biodegradable, then what is the problem? The fish itself will biodegrade it, okay? But no, the chemicals are non-biodegradable, they are harmful, hence we are saying that their accumulation is harmful to us, alright? So these are the characteristics of the chemicals that you should write in this answer. Then these are introduced into the ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem was there. We have introduced those chemicals in their ecosystem, right? By the industrial effluents. So these harmful chemicals are accumulated. These are introduced into the ecosystem progressively at each trophic level. Remember the example? The small fishes were having less amount of chemical. Large fishes were having more amount of chemical, and human beings that were eating those large fishes were having more amount of chemicals. So progressively the accumulation of chemical is increasing at each trophic level. Okay. So these are the set of words that you should be using to answer this biological magnification, and then you will be good to go for your 1 mark. Again, we will repeat the phenomenon of the accumulation of non-biodegradable harmful chemicals introduced into the ecosystem progressively, that means increasing at each trophic level, is called as biological magnification. Alright. So this is good to go for your 1 mark. I hope it is clear with this explanation. Going ahead, this is the question asked for 1 mark. What is ozone layer? Okay. So ozone layer, you might have heard, you have a topic in this chapter about how is ozone layer formed, why it is being depleted, how we can protect our ozone layer, what is the need to protect ozone layer. All of these things are present in your chapter. Now friends, basically just consider that if this is my earth, then there is a protective covering on this earth which is called as ozone layer. If the covering is being depleted, okay, then we will have ozone holes, okay. This was seen over Antarctica regions few years back. So what will happen is, this layer is protecting against the UV rays, harmful UV rays that are coming from sun. So it filters it out and the harmful rays are being absorbed by this layer, okay. And if this layer is being depleted, then those harmful UV rays will be directly coming to us and they will cause harm to human beings and to other organisms as well. So hence, this ozone layer is very important. The question is simple, it is asking us what is ozone layer. We will deal with this ozone layer in more detail later in this video. First of all, let us answer this question for 1 mark. The solution part says that ozone, that is O3, okay, please remember the chemical formula for this ozone, that is O3, not oxygen, that is O2, alright. So ozone O3 is the gas in the troposphere of the earth, okay. Earth has different layers. Here the one surrounding us is the atmosphere. Then we have the different layers, stratosphere, troposphere. Remember that this ozone is present in the troposphere. So ozone is the gas in the troposphere of the earth which prevents harmful UV rays from entering the earth, okay. This much answer is good to go for 1 mark. Here is the question. For 1 mark, it says, what is the importance of decomposers in our environment? So to understand the importance of something in your environment or in your life, just imagine what it would be like if it was absent, okay. So if I say the decomposers are absent on our earth, what will happen? Yes, the dead remains of the organisms will just lay like that only, okay. Nothing will happen to them. They will just be accumulated on our earth. There will be no place for living human beings to sustain, for living organisms to be, because the dead organisms are just present like that only, okay. So first is space is occupied. Second thing, these decomposers we have discussed in the beginning of our session are converting the organic forms into inorganic forms, okay. So they are completing the cycle of nutrients, okay, in our environment. The plants are using the inorganic materials to produce the organic food that is being transferred to various trophic levels, and then finally, then these decomposers are making available the degradation products of these higher complex organisms, and the degradation products are now available in the soil, okay. Then plants can again take up the inorganic materials and this cycle continues. So if decomposers are not there, this cycle will also stop, okay. So the plants will not be gaining the required inorganic minerals that is required for their functioning, okay. Then again our whole food chain will be suffering, okay. So as per our discussion, the deletion of decomposers from our environment, from our life would be very detrimental to our society. Let us go for the solution part. It says that decomposers like earthworms, termites, fungi and other microorganisms decompose the organic matter and help in recycling the nutrients and cleaning of the environment, okay. So in one sentence, whatever we have discussed, we have put it over here, and this much is good to go for this 1 mark. Please remember friends, the question may ask you what are decomposers, give some example. Then you should be able to write these: earthworm, termite, fungi and some other microorganisms are constituting the group of decomposers, okay. What do? They decompose the organic matter and they will help in recycling the nutrients and cleaning of the environment, okay. So I hope as per our discussion and with this sentence, this question is very much clear to you. The question may ask you, decomposers are important for our environment, justify, okay. Then you will put in the sentences that we have just discussed and then you will be able to answer that question very easily, alright. Here is the question for 1 mark. The question says, what are the consequences of ozone depletion? Okay friends, so as we just said, we will be circling back to our ozone topic. Herein, we just talked about the ozone hole. The question is asking us, what are the consequences of this ozone depletion? We have just said that this ozone depletion will be very harmful to human beings. So how? Let us explore that part. In the solution part, it is written that Ozone depletion leads to the entry of harmful UV rays. This we have already discussed. From the sun into the earth, which will cause various skin disorders. Okay. Skin disorders like skin cancer, cataract, and this will also affect the immune system and many more effects. To enlist for 1 mark, this much will be sufficient. Okay. So these UV rays are harmful. If they come in contact with our skin, the skin may burn. That is also a part. Okay. Then the eyes will be affected. We can also develop skin cancer. What is cancer? Cancer is uncontrollable growth of cells. Here, that is happening to skin cells. Hence the term skin cancer. Okay. Then our immune system will also be affected. So these are the harmful effects of the ozone depletion. Hence, we should minimize the causes that are leading to ozone depletion, right? So as to preserve the ozone layer and eventually to preserve our health on this earth. Here is the question asked for 2 marks. Let us go and read this question first. The question says the export of a large number of frogs from an area led to a significant increase in malaria and dengue patients. Okay. What would be the cause? Now just imagine, you are just exporting the frogs. So why is the patients with malaria and dengue increasing? Yes. If you will apply some common sense, you will see that frogs are eating mosquitoes. And mosquitoes are the vectors for these diseases of malaria and dengue. Okay. So whenever you are removing a predator, then the prey's population will increase. Here the predator is the frog and the prey is the mosquito. This mosquito is the vector for this disease, malaria and dengue, that is happening in human beings. So obviously the prey over here is the vector for a deadly disease, that is malaria and dengue. So the patients are now increasing because the vector is now set free to reproduce and flourish in the environment since its predator is now removed or it is exported. Okay. So this is the reason or cause for the increase of the malaria and dengue patients. Let us have the solution part. The solution says that frogs are the consumers feeding on the mosquitoes. Okay, very first point. Then the export of frogs led to the increase of mosquitoes, which are the vectors of diseases like malaria and dengue. Thus, the number of patients with these diseases increased. Okay, as simple as that. You remove the predator, prey will increase. Okay, you remove the prey species, then the predator will die out eventually because there is no food for them. Okay, so try to extrapolate your knowledge. This question is talking about the export of the predators. Some question might ask you with some examples that the prey is being exported. Then what will happen to that predator species? You should be answering that food chain is altered. So now the predators are not having the food, so they will also eventually perish out. Okay. So this is good to go for 2 marks. Here is the question asked for 3 marks. Let us have a look on the question. It says, which chemicals are responsible for ozone depletion? How can we segregate the waste produced by human beings for proper waste management? Okay. So the question is coming from waste management topic and the first one is coming from the ozone topic itself. Okay. Now here we are asked which chemicals are responsible for ozone depletion. Please remember these terms, friends. Chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, nice term. You can easily remember it. Chlorofluorocarbons. These are along with other things as well, but at least write this one in your answer. Chlorofluorocarbons are produced and because of this only, our ozone layer is being depleted. So basically our O3, that is ozone, is reacting with halocarbons and that is leading to the depletion of the ozone layer. Let us have the solution part. In solution, it is being said for the first part that ozone depletion is linked to the synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, please remember, it is abbreviated as CFCs, but you should not write only CFCs in your paper. You should write the full form because it is giving you 1 mark. Okay, and this answer and this B part or second part will fetch you 2 marks. Okay, so for 1 mark, you should enter this name. And to see what is the location, where is this CFC is found, these are used as refrigerants and these are also used in fire extinguishers. Refrigerants, okay, very commonly used, and fire extinguishers are also very commonly used. So Ozone depletion is linked with the synthetic chemicals formation like chlorofluorocarbons, which are used in refrigerants and in fire extinguishers. This much answer will give you 1 mark. Now let us talk about how can we segregate the waste that is being produced by human beings. So friends, tell me, is it the case in your society or your locality that you are being asked to separate your dry waste with the wet waste? Yes, this is very common nowadays, and many of the societies and areas are following this practice. Why is it so? Because friends, the wet waste is mostly considered to be biodegradable. Because what is wet waste? Yes, it is your vegetable waste, your kitchen waste, your leftover foods, okay? All of these things are biodegradable. That means the organisms present in our environment can degrade those things, okay? Now let's talk about the components of your dry waste. So in your dry waste, you are having your wrappers, all of those things which are composed of plastics and other non-biodegradable things, okay? So basically, those things are not degraded by the organisms present in the environment. Hence, we are supposed to separate them out. So, we will deal with the biodegradable waste in the case that we will just dump it in the soil, we will cover it with some soil, and then the microorganisms will be degrading those things, okay? And compost can be formed from that waste. So basically, these are the ways in which we can manage the waste that is being produced. Alright, let us have the solution part for second question as well. Waste segregation into biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste would be useful for further processing of waste management. Okay, so let us just mention what is biodegradable and what is non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable waste are degraded by various decomposers and microorganisms present in our environment. And coming to the non-biodegradable waste, these cannot be degraded by living organisms and tend to accumulate and persist in our environment. Alright, so this much answer for your second part of the question will fetch you 2 marks. This will give you 1 mark and this is good to go for 3 marks. I hope the concept is clear for you. Okay. Here is the question asked for 2 marks. The question says, how is the ozone layer formed? So we have talked about what is ozone layer. We have talked about what is the cause for the ozone depletion, and we have talked about the effects of ozone depletion. Okay. Basically friends, this ozone topic is very important. Hence we have tried to cover each and every aspect of the ozone layer. Alright. So questions coming from ozone layer in your examination, if they come, okay, then you should answer them very properly. Alright. Coming back to the formation of ozone layer. Let us go for the solution part. So ozone is present at the higher levels of the atmosphere. Where is it present? Yes, it is present in troposphere. We have just mentioned it earlier in the session. It is a product of UV radiation acting on oxygen molecules. On our earth, we do have O2 molecules, right? And we are saying that UV radiation is acting on this O2 molecule. Let us see how. So, the higher energy UV radiations will split apart some molecular oxygen into free oxygen atoms, that is nascent oxygen atoms. Okay, it is shown as this. So, this is oxygen, this is nascent oxygen, and we need to form O3. What are your guesses? Yes, this will combine and we will have O3, right? Let us have a look on the reactions. So, these atoms will combine with the molecular oxygen to form ozone. Here are the reactions. Here is the oxygen atom, molecular oxygen O2, UV is acting upon it and nascent oxygen is being formed. Now, some oxygen molecules are being degraded by UV radiation, high energy UV radiations. These nascent oxygen are highly reactive, okay, so they will go and combine with O2 and then we will have the formation of ozone, alright. So, this is the manner in which ozone layer is produced, okay, that is being asked in your question, so we are answering it. You should be having these reactions at least, okay, because these sentences will not fetch you the whole marks. These reactions hold great importance in your answer of how ozone layer is formed, alright. Write this much and you are good to go for 2 marks. Here is the question asked for 2 marks. The question says, what would happen if all the apex consumers like lions suddenly vanish from earth, okay. So, the question is again relating to the concept that we have just seen, okay. We have just seen that removal of that frog was leading to increase in the population of mosquitoes. Here what we are saying that apex consumer are being removed. So, what will be the effect? So, basically first of all you should be knowing what are apex consumers as per the name, we have a hint that they are present on the top parts of the food chain. Okay. So, say for example, here I have some grass. Okay. This grass is being eaten by deer. Okay. And this deer is being eaten by lion. Is lion being eaten by another organism? No, right? I hope so. So, this lion becomes the ultimate consumer. Hence, we will say that it is the apex consumer. Okay. I hope you are understanding what is the meaning of apex consumer. Here, the question asks you, what would happen if all the apex consumers like lions are suddenly vanishing? So, if I am again eliminating this part, okay, this is gone. Now, we have so much of deer present in our environment then, because their consumer is not there, okay. So, this is prey and this is predator. Predator is now vanished. So, prey is now free to eat, to reproduce at their own will. So, deer population will increase significantly, okay. Here, these deer are eating the grass, right? So, this grass population will decrease significantly to accommodate these increased population of deer, right? So, now what will happen is, this increased population of deer will lead to the vanishing of this grass population as well. Now, we don't have the apex consumer, we don't have the grass. Now, this deer is increased in the population, but its food is not available. So, it will also be prone to hunger. Okay, what will it eat? So, eventually, the deer population will also vanish. Alright. So, here you can see, just because of the elimination of apex consumer, we have destroyed the whole food chain itself. Okay. And it is not the case that this grass is only being eaten in this food chain. This grass is the part of many other food chain as well. And vanishing of this grass will affect them all as well. Alright. So, basically, removal of all the apex consumers will lead to a havoc in the food chain that is present in our earth. Okay. Let us have the solution part. So, I hope you have understood what could be the impact of vanishing of the apex consumers. Let us have the solution part. It says that the sudden disappearance of lions which feed on herbivores like deer will lead to an increase in the population of deer. Okay, just as we have talked. Then, deer which are herbivores meaning they are depending on plants, directly on plants for their food requirement. So, these will consume the whole grassland. Okay, they will consume all the plants that are present on the earth, leading to an ultimate imbalance in the concentration of carbon dioxide and oxygen gas. Now, in our discussion, we have talked about the food and all of those things. But remember, these plants are only fixing the carbon dioxide present in our air. Okay, they are performing the process of photosynthesis. So, now with the plants being gone, the carbon dioxide is not able to be fixed. Okay, photosynthesis ceases to appear. And then the oxygen that was released from the photosynthesis, that concentration is also affected. Okay, so only removal of apex consumer will also lead to the imbalance in the concentration of gases in our atmosphere. Okay, going ahead. Soon plants will also vanish. Okay, because the deer or the herbivores have eaten them due to overconsumption by herbivores, leading to the death of herbivores as well. So, as we said, the whole food chain is affected. Thus, the disappearance of even one trophic level will prove catastrophic for the whole ecosystem of the earth. Hence, each and every organism on each and every trophic level is important to maintain the life that is present on earth. Okay, removal of any trophic level will lead to imbalance of the food chains that are functioning on our earth. I hope this concept is clear to you. Here is the question for 2 marks. It is a give reason type of question. It says that a food chain generally cannot have more than 5 trophic levels. Trophic levels, if I say this is the producer level, okay, this is the primary consumer, this is the secondary consumer, and this is the tertiary consumer. Okay, if I make an energy pyramid, it will look like this only. Okay, for most of the food chains. So, basically, more energy is present in the base level, that is the producer level. Lesser amount of energy is present in the next consecutive level, and even lesser amount of energy is present in the last consecutive level. Okay, say for example, herein for understanding, let us consider there are 3 trophic levels at hand. So, we are being asked a food chain cannot have more than 5 trophic levels. Why is that? Have you heard about the 10% rule, friends? Yes. What happens is, these plants here we have the producers. Okay. Producers are using the energy that is present in sun. They are making the food by photosynthesis, and these producers are also living, right? And living requires energy. That means for plants to sustain, they have to undergo many metabolic reactions. That means if, say for example, 100 joule of energy they have acquired from the sun by the process of photosynthesis, they will be using most of the energy for their life purposes only. Okay, and some energy might be lost to the environment as well. So there is a rule that only 10% of this energy will go and will be available to the next trophic level. 10% of this will be 10, okay, and 10% of this 10 will be 1, okay. So basically friends, producers will be using most of the energy for their life purposes and only 10% is available to the next trophic level. Same is the case for next trophic level as well. So because of the tremendous loss of energy, we are not able to have more than 5 trophic levels in our environment because that much energy is now not only present. Okay, how? Let us see in our solution part. So coming to the solution part, it says that in a food chain following the 10% rule, okay, only 10% of the organic matter present at each trophic level reaches the next trophic level, okay. Then a small amount of energy is thus only available for the next level, making the occurrence of a food chain with more than 5 trophic levels unlikely, okay. The loss of energy at each step is so great that a very small amount of usable energy remains after 4 trophic levels. So, if I talk about the 4 trophic levels over here, this is the scene, okay. This is the first trophic level, second, third, fourth. And say for example, here is the fifth, just for consideration. Over here, we have 10,000 joules of energy, okay. Over here, how much will be there? Yes, 1000 will be there. Over here, 100 will be there. Over here, only 10 is there. And over here, we have only 1 joule of energy. So, more than these, that means if we have 6 trophic level, then 0.1 joule of energy will be available. So, that is a very less amount of energy. Hence, due to the loss of energy, which is very much significant, we cannot have more than 5 trophic levels in food chain, okay. Generally, we are having 5 trophic levels in food chain only, okay. More than that is not possible considering all the energy loss that is being present, okay. So, I hope this concept is clear to you. Please remember the 10% rule because applied questions relating to this topic also comes in your paper. We will deal with them as well in the later video. So here friends, as we have just seen the question about how the food chain cannot have more than 5 trophic levels, the next question is asking us the simple thing, that is, what is the 10% rule of energy transfer? This was basically forming the fundamental for that concept of a food chain not having more than 5 trophic levels, right? So here let us see what is the 10% rule of energy transfer. Here you are being provided with 2 marks for this question, okay? So obviously we will explain it with a more detail. When green plants are eaten by primary consumers, a significant proportion of energy is lost as heat to the environment, okay? So we are talking about the very first trophic level, that is the producers. Producers are fixing the carbon dioxide, are using the inorganic materials and they are producing the food. But in this process, they are also losing a significant amount of energy as heat to the environment, okay? Then going ahead, some amount is used by consumers for energy purposes like digestion, reproduction, metabolisms, growth, etc. Okay? Then a very small proportion of about 10% of the food eaten by the primary consumer is stored in its body, which is made available for the next level of consumers. That means if I consider about the plants are losing energy as heat, they are using it for their metabolism, and then only 10% of what energy they have acquired, they will pass it on to the primary consumer. Then primary consumer also has its life process. It has to undergo digestion, excretion, circulation, all of those things, okay. So it will also be using most of the energy for itself and it will be storing 10% of that part. Then secondary consumer, again, they are getting only 10% of what primary consumer had stored, alright. So this is nothing but the 10% rule of energy transfer. Coming here, 10% is the average value for the amount of organic matter present at each step which reaches the next trophic level, okay. So if I have this energy pyramid, Then 10% will go over here. Okay. Here what the primary consumer has stored, of that only 10% will reach the secondary consumer. Okay. So this is the 10% rule of energy transfer. I hope it is clear to you because this forms the basics for many questions that can be formed from this topic. So friends, coming back to this question, it is asked for 4 marks. A beautiful image is provided to you. Over here, some aquatic plants are there, smaller fishes, bigger fishes, human being is doing the fishing and it will be basically hunting this fish and they will be having it for their meal. Okay, that is being understood. Now here 2 ppm is written, here 5 ppm, 200 ppm, 1600 ppm. Okay, ppm is nothing but parts per million. So it is a very small quantity. We are using it to express the amount of harmful chemicals present in large bodies. Okay, here aquatic body. Alright, coming back to the question, answer the following referring the food chain. Okay, this is the food chain that is being given to us. First, what phenomenon is shown in the image? So, what is this image? Okay, that we have to write down. Then, who is the ultimate sufferer of harmful chemicals introduced to water bodies? Okay, ultimate sufferer who is, we need to identify. Then, we are provided a situation in which if 10,000 joule of energy transfer is available at the producer level. Okay, at this level we have 10,000 joule of energy that is available to the producer. What amount of energy will be available to humans? Okay, so this is first trophic level. Okay, this one is second, this one is third, and this one is fourth. So basically friends, follow the 10% rule and you will be able to gain the answer for this third part. Going ahead for the fourth part, in an imaginary situation in which humans are shifted to the trophic level of large fish. Okay, these humans are replaced from over here and they are becoming the members of the third trophic level. In that situation, will this cause any change in your answer to the third question? That means if we replace the humans with this large fish, what will be the amount of energy that is present to human beings in this case now? Okay. So I hope the questions are clear to you. Coming to the answer now. This phenomenon, because of these this units written to it, you should be able to grasp that this is the biological magnification phenomenon which is shown to you. Alright. The answer for first part of the question is biological magnification, that will fetch you 1 mark. Going ahead, who is the ultimate sufferer of harmful chemicals? You will see that. First of all, harmful chemicals are present in them. They are present in here, small fish, then they are present in large fish. Who is the ultimate consumer of that chemical? Yes, human beings. So, human being is the ultimate sufferer of harmful chemicals that are introduced to the water bodies. Alright, we have gained second question's answer as well just by looking at the image. Okay. Third is, if 10,000 joule energy is available at this level, we need to follow 10% rule and then we need to reach out how much energy is being present for human beings. Let us do that. So, coming to the solution part, first part's answer is biological magnification as we have already discussed. Second part's answer is human beings are the ultimate sufferer of these bioaccumulation. Why so? Because human beings occupy the top level in any food chain. Okay. Thus, the maximum concentration of chemicals accumulates in human beings and hence human beings are the ultimate sufferer of this biological magnification that we are talking about. Coming for the third part of the question, that is how much energy is available to humans following the 10% rule. So over here friends, we were provided with the plants. Okay. These plants were having how much energy? 10,000 joule of energy, right? Then we had the small fish, okay, and then there was a large fish, right? Large fishes were there basically. Then finally we had the presence of humans, okay. So this is the sequence that we were provided with. Following the 10% rule of energy, right? That means 10% of this energy is lost and remaining is made available to the next trophic level. Over here we will be having 1000 joule of energy. Over here we will have 100 joule of energy and over here we will have only 10 joule of energy reaching the humans. Okay. So, following the 10% rule of energy transfer, only 10% of energy is available to humans. Then in the next part of the question, you were said that if humans are replaced from this trophic level to this trophic level, then what is the amount of energy available to humans in this hypothetical condition? Okay. So basically this is 100 joule, right, for this large fishes. Large fishes are being replaced by humans. So 100 joule of energy will be available for humans if we are considering replacement of them from this trophic level to this trophic level. Okay. So coming for the fourth part's answer, if humans are shifted to the trophic level of large fish, that is one step back in the food chain, the energy available to them will be now 100 joule. Okay. So in this question, you have applied your knowledge of 10% rule of energy transfer and you have actually dealt with how much energy is present at each trophic level. Okay. Such questions can make their way in your examination in long answer type questions. Okay. So please make yourself comfortable with such application of your knowledge that you are already having, and then you will be good to go for gaining these marks as well. Okay, so it was a very large question for 4 marks, but separating it, we have answered it like a very short answer question. Okay, just for 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark and 1 mark. Hence, we are able to gain our 4 marks very easily for this question. Here is the question for 3 marks. It says, what is an ecosystem? State its component with an example. So friends, we are dealing with biological magnification, food chain, food web. So basically, you must be easily answering this what is an ecosystem question. Let us go for the solution part. It says that all the interacting organisms in an area with the non-living constituents of the environment form an ecosystem. Say for example, I am talking about a lake. So all the fishes, aquatic plants that are living in that area are interacting with the water as well. They are interacting with sunlight, they are interacting with dissolved oxygen and all of other things as well. That means living organisms constantly interact with the non-living organisms. Okay, and this whole set together is referred to as an ecosystem. Okay, going ahead, we need to state its component with an example. So basically, we need to mention what are the biotic components and what are the abiotic components. Okay, let us go ahead and do that. An ecosystem consists of both biotic components and abiotic components. Biotic components comprise the living organisms like plants, animals and microorganisms. Okay, and abiotic components comprise the physical factors like temperature, rain, wind, soil and minerals. Okay. So this is a very simple question. You need to mention what is ecosystem, then what are abiotic components and what are biotic components along with the example. Very simple question. Just imagine an aquatic ecosystem or a terrestrial ecosystem and then you are good to go with both of the components. Okay. Here is the question asked for 2 marks. The question says, justify the statement, the flow of energy is unidirectional. Okay. So just consider the food chains that we have already discussed. We are just talking that producers are present. They will fix the inorganic forms into the organic forms. Then the primary consumer will eat it. Then secondary consumer will eat it. Then tertiary consumer will eat it. And the death of all these organisms will lead to the action of decomposers. They will be decomposing the dead remains and then the nutrient cycling continues. Alright. The question is saying you why the flow of energy is unidirectional. That means plants are using the sun's energy. Why can't they return it to them? Okay. That means energy can flow from sun to plants only, from plants to consumers only, not from consumers to plants, because plants don't do the consumers, right? Mostly they don't do. So herein we need to justify the statement of why the flow of energy is unidirectional. Going for the solution part, energy captured by autotrophs does not revert back to the ultimate source of energy, that is sun. We have just said it. Okay. Similarly, the energy that passes to herbivores from autotrophs does not come back. Autotrophs will not go and hunt that deer which has eaten the plant. Okay. So the energy flow is always unidirectional. It will always follow a one-way path. It will not go in the backward direction. Okay. So basically friends, here is the answer for this question. Here is the justification. As the energy moves through the various trophic levels, it is no longer available to the previous level now. Okay. Hence, the flow of energy is unidirectional in an ecosystem. Because the energy is no longer available, they cannot backtrack. Okay. And hence, this flow of energy is always unidirectional in an ecosystem. Alright. You should understand this sentence as well, friends. This is very important, that the flow of energy is unidirectional. This is good to go for 2 marks. Now here friends, we are asked a question for 4 marks. Okay, again an image based question, so we will try to answer it. The question says answer the following referring this food chain. This is A, B and C. First part is identify the food chain in A, B, C. Okay. Obviously we are provided with 4 parts, so each will be having 1 mark each. So each of these sub parts will have 1 mark. Alright. So herein we are supposed to identify the food chain in A, B and C. So here friends, there are large trees which are present over here. So yes, this is a forest food chain. Okay, forest ecosystem is being shown to you. Over here grass is present, so grassland is there. Okay. And then coming over here, this is aquatic plants. Okay, so this is aquatic ecosystem which is provided to you. Okay, so these are the identification of different A, B, C food chain that is given to us. Then we are asked with the question, justify tiger is a consumer. Herein, why is this tiger considered as a consumer? Just give a guess. Yes, because it is consuming the deer. Okay, it is eating it. It is not producing its own food. So it is definitely not a producer. Hence, it is a consumer. Okay. Then, what is the trophic level of snakes in the food chain represented in B? This snake's trophic level is being asked to you. This is first, second, third, fourth. Alright, good to go with the third part as well. Coming for the fourth part, what are apex consumers? Okay, we have dealt with this question in our session. So, I am sure you will be able to answer it. We need to identify the apex consumer in the food chain C. So, what is the apex consumer in this food chain C? Yes, this one. This bird is the apex consumer. Over here, this is the apex consumer. Over here, tiger is the apex consumer. Okay. So, as you can see and guess that the questions from this chapter are very easy. You just need to have a fundamental knowledge of these things and you can apply it in the questions and easily grab the marks. Okay. Let us answer the questions over here in the solution part. Food chain in nature, A is in forest, B is in grassland and C is in a pond. Okay, aquatic ecosystem. Going ahead with the second part, the tiger is feeding on the deer, hence it is a consumer. Alright. Going for the third part, snakes occupy the fourth trophic level in the grassland ecosystem provided in the image. Okay. And going for the fourth answer, apex consumers are the organisms at the top of the food chains, and at the top we have seen that bird was present. Okay. So in the given image, the food chain C has fish eating bird as the apex consumer. So here friends, we have identified the apex consumer in the food chain C. So friends, that will be all for the discussion and practicing the questions coming from the chapter of our environment. The chapter is super easy to understand. Just you need to apply the information in your questions and you are good to go for the marks that this chapter will be bringing in your upcoming examination. I hope the discussion is crystal clear to all of you. Do write to us if you have some doubts or you have some questions that you need more explanation with. I hope this session is helpful for you for your upcoming 10th CBSE examination. Thank you all for the attention.